Y'all, let's move on to some other entertainment wrestling. I didn't come up with favorite wrestler or favorite wrestler regarding moment. But if you had to pick past or present in their prime for a dream match, who would it be and why? Champ, you go first.
Mm.
Oh man, who would it be and why? Um, Dream matchup. We've seen a lot of them, and they just flew under the radar. One of the dream matches, and I hate to bring up this person because I know he's not very liked at this point, but I gotta say, for the sake of passing the torch, I have to say Hogan and Bret Hart. Hogan and Bret Hart. The reason why I really feel like that was a missed opportunity for the WWE and for WCW. We had a chance to see it not once but twice. I really feel like that was a missed opportunity for both companies. I feel like that it was a missed opportunity for WWE because that was your chance to pass the torch from the golden era to the new generation era. That was your opportunity. And can you imagine? And that should have been and that could have been the main event at WrestleMania. You know, and I really feel like that should have been one. Um, Bret Hart, as much hate as he gets, he's one of the best wrestlers of all time. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And to see him not get put over in a proper way to put him over the golden goose, I think that was an injustice to his career. And I think had Vince McMahon, had he done that, that would have brought a lot more attention to the new generation era than it did. Can you imagine Bret Hart going over on Hulk Hogan in a pay-per-view? Because even in the early 90s as Hulkamania, he still had a lot of steam. So I would have to say Hulk Hogan versus Bret Hart. Another one, dream matchup, Harlem Heat versus the Usos.
Mm.
Harlem Heat
Mm.
versus the Usos.
Mm.
Two of the
That's a good
greatest
one.
tag teams of all time. I mean, Usos, one of the first tag teams to main event WrestleMania. Harlem Heat, one of the most underrated teams in history. You name them, they beat them in WCW. They even beat my favorite tag team of all time, the Road Warriors, in a short-lived feud. And so when you talk about tag team wrestling, I think Harlem Heat is overshadowed because, people, they really paid attention to, the tables, ladders, and chairs. They paid attention to the Dudleys. They paid attention to Edge and Christian and, the Road Warriors. But I think they kind of get lost in tag team history. They were one of the best tag teams of all time. Booker T being one of the biggest superstars ever in wrestling and Stevie Ray being the powerhouse for Harlem Heat. I think that would have been a good matchup between them and the Usos because they both could go. It wasn't like and it wasn't like Booker T and Stevie Ray, they were statues. They could move around in that ring. They could move around. So I think that, Harlem Heat versus the Usos would have been one of the greatest matchups in history. And not only that, not only would I want them to go at it, I wanted to be 2 out of 3 falls.
Interesting. I'm gonna go. Shawn Michaels versus God rest his soul, the late great Eddie Guerrero. And the reason why, because of their in-ring ability. They're not the same person. However, they have a lot of similarities. They're from the state of Texas. Shawn San Antonio, Eddie Guerrero, El Paso. Charming, charismatic. The woman they love. Obviously, the sexy boy, the boy toy, the heartbreak kid. Latino heat. When Eddie became Latino heat in WWE, and once he started making his charming moves on the late great China, rest her soul, Hey, and the personality, the swag that they had. Eddie with the low riders, Shawn Michaels with the outfits that he wore, and of course, in ring, their ability to like jump. They can wrestle with the best of them. So they may not be the same person, but they do share a lot of similarities. And they did a great job as far as connecting with the audience. And another one, Kurt Angle versus Russell Soul Owen Hart from the
Mm.
athletic standpoint. Because you have the Olympic gold medalist and Kurt Angle going up against Owen Hart, who you even argue BRF, he's better than Brett. He can match up with the technical, and he also has great athletic skills as well. So I would love to see that match too, Kurt Angle versus Owen Hart. Go ahead, BRF.
All right, all right, all right. I got a few of these actually. I got a few of these. Um. Okay. I'm gonna start with the tag team matches first. All right. I would love to see Prime Hardys versus current Lucha Brothers.
Mm.
I would love to see that. Like Prime, I would say let me see. Not even like not even attitude era Hardys. 2000 2007, like when they reformed, they were like Team Extreme. '07 Hardys versus like when it was like they could I mean they were like they could do the aerial stuff, they could do all that, but then they were more of ground based because I mean they were getting older. They were more like I feel like their most complete as a team was probably like '07, '08 or whatever. Them versus current Lucha Brothers. Like, and we got Penta in WWE now. I just feel like it's only a matter of time before Phoenix gets there. I can't wait. I can't wait for the WWE to get Phoenix and unleash the Lucha Brothers in the tag team division. That's gonna be That's gonna be the scariest thing the tag team division has seen in a long, long time. When those two join up and get over there, oh my god, that's gonna be some magic. But I would love to see Prime Hardys versus the Lucha Bros. Um, another one from a tag team perspective that I really would I don't know. I would like to see I would like to see New Day, particularly Kofi and Big E versus the Hart Foundation.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just it's something about that. The speed and power contrast with Kofi and Big E, and then you got Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. It's something about that I would just like. I feel like I would enjoy the New Day versus the Hart Foundation. I feel like I would really enjoy that match. I really would. I feel like there would be some good storytelling. There would be some hella wrestling. And I just feel like it would be some good spots. And I just feel like it would be a good tag team match. So those are probably two of my biggest dream tag team matches that I like to see. As far as individual, there's so many like like I think I told the story one time. Shawn, like you mentioned, Shawn Michaels and Eddie Guerrero. I think that was supposed to be, if I recall, that was supposed to be the WrestleMania 22 showcase match. But then unfortunately, Eddie Guerrero died. But I think they were trying to, because you know how they like to write stuff in early and all that other stuff as far as like WrestleManias and stuff like that. I think that was the WrestleMania, the 22 in Chicago. I think that was going to be the showcase match, and I just hated Eddie didn't get to live to see it. But that, man, if we got that WrestleMania 22 in Chicago, and don't get me wrong, because Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon, that was a hella spectacle of a street fight for WrestleMania 22. That was a tremendous spectacle. But the Shawn Michaels and Eddie Guerrero would have tore the house down. It would have tore the Allstate Arena just down. And I just hated we couldn't get to see it. So I'm right there with you on that one. But I would love to have gotten to see. Gosh, I'm thinking.
Pull out the rabbit out the hat. The one you said when we was on our pod, RVD versus Will Ospreay, Prime.
Oh yeah.
Prime. Oh yeah, Prime ECW
Yeah,
or Rob Van Dam versus current Will Ospreay. Oh
yeah.
yes.
I remember
Oh
you said
yes.
that. Yeah.
Oh yes, bro. Let me tell you something. This let me tell you, Prime like ECW television champion run Rob Van Dam versus this Will Ospreay would feed so many families and generations. Folks don't understand because people always talk about RVD was a spot monkey and all this other stuff. People don't get how good of a wrestler Rob Van Dam really was in this time frame. Like him and Jerry Lynn would put on some really, really, really good matches in ECW. So somebody and Will Ospreay, who's arguably one of the most explosive athletes we've ever seen from a wrestler standpoint, with another one who's arguably the most explosive athlete we've seen from a wrestler standpoint, would just be so crazy. I would love to see Prime ECW or Rob Van Dam versus Will Ospreay. And I got one more. I got one more from a singles perspective. You know what? Since we're talking about since we're talking about Shawn Michaels, I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. I would have loved when Shawn Michaels was trying to make was I don't know what it no I'll take that back. Prime Shawn Michaels versus Prime AJ Styles.
Yeah, you mentioned that argument before. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, because they teased it at one point when AJ first got to WWE, was going to WWE. They teased it, and Shawn was like, he was still kind of in between before he did that tragedy of a match at Crown Jewel, but that's neither here nor there on that one. But yeah, definitely Prime Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles. I would love to see that. I would love to see that one. I would have. You know what though? Give me Prime Kurt Angle versus Bryan Danielson. Just to soothe my soul. Just to soothe my soul. Give me Prime Kurt Angle versus Bryan Danielson, arguably the two greatest technical wrestlers in the history of the sport. Just give it to me one time for old time's sake.
I
Just
I
give it to me
I,
once.
I have a good one. Prime Mick Foley versus Prime Rest His Soul Bray Wyatt.
Cactus Jack or Mankind.
Probably Mankind.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm about to say the unpredictability standpoint. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Y'all wouldn't mind seeing that
Ooh.
match?
Yeah, I love to see that match.
The
Yeah.
bro, not just for the match, the promos leading up
Promos,
to that
bro.
match. The promos leading up to that match. Oh my god! I don't think we be trying to predict who gonna scare the other one first because I don't think it gonna work.
Yes. Oh yeah. Another
I'm
one. Go ahead.
go ahead,
I'm
champ.
sorry.
No, go ahead, champ. No, it's all good.
Another one that I would love to see, as far as families is concerned, God rest their soul. Two of the biggest wrestling families in history in a classic War Games match. The Von Erichs versus the Hearts.
Yeah.
Ooh, you cooking with that one?
There is no two bigger families in the history except the I can't pronounce it except for Roman Reigns' family
Anoa'i.
and NOIE. Except for them, there's no two bigger families in wrestling history than the Von Erichs and the Hearts. So I would have loved to see them at their peak go at it in a classic War Games match. The Texas Tornado, Mike Von Erich, and that entire family, you hate the tragedies that happened, but you also hate that you did not get to see them at their peak in the 80s.
That's an interesting point.
You hate it because although you saw them on cable TV, it was back then it was still regional promotions, still a regional thing. So you really didn't get, I didn't get to see, the Dallas promotion. up here in Georgia. Up here, it was Georgia Championship Wrestling in WCW. I didn't really get them down there. You know, it wasn't until recently that we really started. I mean, it wasn't until the early 90s that we really started looking at the AWA because they was on ESPN after school. But the biggest two families in history, as far as dream matches were concerned, I would love to see classic fall brawl war games match, the Von Erichs and the Harts. And I would love to see Kerry Von Erich and Bret Hart start off the match.
That'd
Oh
be
my god.
that'd be great. I'm
Ooh, that'd be
surprised.
nice.
I'm surprised we never even mentioned. You mentioned Champ Hogan, Bret Hart. We never even mentioned Hogan Austin. I'm surprised we didn't even mention that. I mean, I don't know if people would be tuned in to watch that match, but
Hogan and no, let me tell you something. When Hulk Hogan, when they reformed the NWO back in like what was it, 2002, 2003, whatever, when they reformed it, and they got into that feud with Austin and Rock, whatever, I seriously thought they were going to do that.
I
I
thought so
seriously
too.
thought they were going to. I thought they were going to do it, but I just felt like that. I think they did the Rock, which don't get me wrong, was a great was a hey, let me tell you something. People can talk all they want about Hulk Hogan and The Rock not being the greatest wrestling match. You don't watch Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus The Rock for the wrestling. You watch it for the show. You watch it for the entertainment side of it. You watch it because of the spectacle. That's what you watch for. You know that match is going to be a great wrestling match because Hulk Hogan, I mean, not a good wrestler. We know that. But what Hulk Hogan does, he makes you feel. He tells a story. And I seriously thought they were gonna let Hulk Hogan win that match. But let me tell you, yeah, Hulk Hogan. I still think the two biggest missed opportunities that WWE have missed out on was capitalizing on the momentum the NWO had, and they went well. I guess with Hogan and Rock, there was a little more of a story to tell. But even still, I think they could have got if they could have did Hogan versus Austin. And then I think the single biggest missed opportunity is Sting and the Undertaker. I still think it's the biggest missed opportunity is Sting versus the Undertaker, but it's because when all those guys jumped from WCW to WWE, Sting didn't. He just got his money and just relaxed. He went to TNA and had a hella career in TNA before he finally did go to WWE. But that time frame was like what messed up Sting was the back injury he suffered. Because I felt like for one, if Sting doesn't suffer that back injury and night of champion, he's beating Seth Rollins and he's winning the World Heavyweight Championship that night. They had to change that up on the fly. They had to change it up on the fly because he was going to beat Seth Rollins that night. They had to change up. But I seriously felt like if he had stayed healthy, that run he had, I seriously think they would have done it. I think they would have done it. So I think Sting Undertaker's a Oof, I would have loved to have seen that one time. And I think we were on the road to get it, but because Sting got hurt, we couldn't do it.
Sting and Shawn Michaels.
Oh, I would have liked that. I like that too.
hmm
I like that too.
Kurt Angle's AJ Styles.
We saw
But
that did we see that in TNA?
we got it a bunch of times with TNA, but we got it a bunch of times with TNA, but I would have loved to have seen it like like if AJ Styles had made the jump to WWE earlier, I would have loved to have gotten it then, but we did get it a bunch of TNA and they put on sick matches. When Kurt Angle and AJ Styles got together in TNA, boy, they never had a bad match.
One because for my guy Austin, him in his peak versus Brock Lesnar in his peak.
mm,
Yeah.
that would have been nice. That would have been nice. That would have been nice. The fact they even teased like a little feud that they had just made it so. just unfair that we couldn't get it because they teased the hell of it. So it's like, okay, let him do it once, but then Brock, that the WrestleMania story. Brock and Goldberg left, so you kind of know that story. Like, damn, that's another one. I'm trying to think. Do I have any more in the clip? Hold on.
Shawn Michaels versus The Rock
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
in a
great one.
ladder match.
That's a great one. Um.
In a ladder match.
mm, oh, yeah. Yeah. I could. Oh yeah. Yeah. I could see that. I'm trying to think. I know I got at least one more in the clip. Um, past the present.
Undertaker
Um,
versus Andre.
Undertaker versus Andre.
Andre the Giant, yeah.
That'd be a hell of a match.
Yeah, Andre the
I
Giant. Last man
I
standing
would
match.
rather I would have rather seen Big Show versus Andre. I,
How
I
about
think
Mark?
I think
How about Mark
I would have rather
Henry
seen.
versus Andre? The world's
I
most
would.
strongest man going up against Andre the Giant.
You just want to see that, just see if he can get him in the World Strong Slam one time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Um. Oh God, I got to have one more. I got to have one more in me. I got one more. Hold on. Let me think. Let me think.
Take your time.
Mm, I don't know, man. There's just there's so many that I really would have liked to have gotten a chance to see, but like
Vern Gagne versus Hulk Hogan.
mm, Bruno Sammartino versus Hulk Hogan.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. I would have loved. I would love. You know what? Just from the entertainment standpoint, I would love. I would, man. Bruno Sammartino versus Hulk Hogan. Yeah, yeah, that that would in their primes. That would do numbers. That would do numbers. That really would. Um.
Going back to tag team, the Road Warriors versus the Usos.
You mentioned that, Tim.
Mm,
Yeah, I say Harlem Heat.
Oh, didn't you say that before the Harlem Heat?
No, no, I
Oh,
said
okay.
Bret Hart versus Hulk Hogan. But
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I love to see the greatest tag team of all time, in my humble opinion, the Road Warriors versus the Usos. They call it the Road Warrior Pop for a reason, bro. They put tag team wrestling on the map. I would love to see that ground and pound game versus versus the high flying and the maneuvering of the Usos. The Road Warriors, I love the Road Warriors, man. I wanted the shoulder pads just like them. I wanted the shoulder pads just like them, man. Two very, very kick butt type of guys who just can get that can put on a good wrestling ring, put on a good wrestling match. And I'm talking about the Road Warriors in their prime, not the early days of Road Warriors, because everybody know the reputation that the Road Warriors had in the early days. Like in the early days, the Road Warriors, you just would have that they just told you off the get go, look, you coming in this ring to get your butt kicked. Just let you know that when you walk in here. But the Road Warriors in their prime tag team wrestling, I think them and the Usos, I think two of the greatest tag teams of all time, man. I would have loved it.
Shelton Benjamin versus Seth Rollins.
oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh gosh. You know what? You know what? You know what? I would
the Hurt
love to
Business
see.
versus
Their
Evolution.
their athleticism. I mean,
Mm,
even though Shelton is not really great with mic skills or promos, but Seth does bring that component. And in the ring, as far as the athleticism, the moves, I would love to see that match.
Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko versus Brian Danielson.
Mm.
I would love to see. I would, from a technicality standpoint, I would love to see Dean Malenko and Brian Danielson. Just from a technical standpoint, I would love to see that. I got one though. I got one though. I would. if and when, if he stays healthy long enough to I don't know if he's ever gonna go to WWE, but if he was to stay healthy and he's keep I Kenny Omega Kenny Omega versus Seth Rollins and my life would be complete. Give me Kenny Omega versus Seth Rollins, or give me Kenny Omega versus Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns versus Russell Soul Umaga.
Hmm. Hmm.
But hey,
I like that one too. I like that one too.
fellas, unfortunately we got to move on. But hell of a wrestling topic, and guess what? For next week on the Sports PSP Pod, favorite Jeff Hardy moment.
Oh, we finna shut that segment down next week.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.